gentlemen, I'm going to review the Bortnikoff Oud Sample Set. Bortnikoff is a fragrance house that specializes in raw materials and specifically different types of oud. And in this sample set there are 3 samples. I'm going to talk about the scent profile, the longevity and projection of all of these 3 fragrances in here, and in the end tell you what I think of them and if I think you should buy the sample set here or the 3 fragrances that are included in this set. Let's not waste any more time and let's begin. So let's start by opening up this sample set. First of all, you have this box with another box that is very soft and has cushioning in it and has Bortnikoff embroidered on top. After you've opened that up, you will get a small note with the individual fragrances and what the notes of the fragrances are. And specifically this sample set will include a sample of Bortnikoff Tabac Doré, Bortnikoff Oud Cologne, and lastly Bortnikoff Lao Oud. So let's apply a spray of Tabac Doré and let's talk about the scent profile. Before I say anything about this fragrance, this is super potent and strong. Whenever I first applied this fragrance, I started coughing because it was so strong and created this insanely dense scent bubble. This fragrance is very complex. It's deep, it's dense, it's dark, it has a lot of sweetness to it, and it has some spicy elements at the top as well. And the main things to look for in this fragrance is going to be the vanilla absolute, 2 types of oud specifically from Thailand and Vietnam, and lastly the most important and most interesting thing in this fragrance, tobacco absolute. The tobacco here gives you this very mysterious, dry, deep darkness to the fragrance, but in the end this fragrance combines to a very deep, syrupy, sweet and slightly spicy but mostly very resinous and oud heavy fragrance that has a lot of different nuances to it, and whenever you're wearing it you will definitely get noticed. This is insanely strong, insanely captivating, and for some challenging, but I think it is very addictive and super unique. I can also describe it in a familiar way. Imagine Tom Ford Tobacco Vanille, but amping up tobacco to the absolutely highest level of quality and volume, adding the vanilla absolute as well, and giving you some other nuances that are absent in Tobacco Vanille, but in here it creates this very Tobacco Vanille-esque type of scent, but adding some spiciness, some woody resinous action in the base coming from the types of oud and birch tar as well. There are so many things happening, but that is the easiest way I can describe it in order for you to think of something similar. I got 12 plus hours of longevity and over an arm's length of projection for around 2 hours or so, which then kept going into being this very dense scent bubble around me for a couple more hours, and halfway throughout the lifetime of the fragrance, around the 6-7 hour mark, it became a noticeable but slightly mild skin scent. This fragrance will keep pushing hours and hours on end. So the last few things I want to say about Bortnikoff Tabac Doré is that if you want one of the very best tobacco fragrances and you want something possibly challenging and divisive but something very complex and multifaceted, I think this fragrance is as good as they come. Next up is Bortnikoff Oud Cologne. So let's apply it on skin and let's talk about the scent profile. So this fragrance is going to be more classical, and what I mean by that is that this starts off being this very cologne type of fragrance with a bunch of citruses at the top. Based on the card here, it consists of bergamot, white grapefruit, bitter orange combined with some juniper berries and pink pepper as well, which I don't really get. In my wearing experience, this is very focused on the citruses in here because this is very lively, juicy, very uplifting and very citrus heavy. And whenever this fragrance gets to dry and develop, it becomes more masculine leaning if it wasn't that already, with some dry green aromaticness coming through. There is a sense of familiarity in this fragrance and something that is definitely more masculine leaning in my opinion because of the classic cologne type of vibe that I get from this fragrance. And in the late dry down, this becomes very dry and woody coming from wild oud from Thailand. This is, in my opinion, one of the best citrusy fragrances I have ever tried. Not just because of the very high price tag and high quality ingredients, but because the ingredients here are so well utilized. And what I mean by that is that I got 10-12 hours of longevity from this fragrance, which was super impressive, and around an arm's length of projection for around an hour or so, which then dried to a moderate and in the end a mild skin scent. If you want a long-lasting citrusy fragrance that leans more masculine and possibly a little aromatic as well, and you want something with a very strong backbone consisting of some balsams and oud, I think Bortnikoff Oud Cologne is definitely something you need to check out. And lastly, in this sample set, you're going to get Bortnikoff Lao Oud. So let's apply this fragrance on skin as well, and let's talk about the scent profile. This fragrance is going to lean mostly into oud, as the name suggests. If you are an oud enthusiast and an oud lover, this will definitely be something for you, because this fragrance isn't necessarily animalic or fecal, but it definitely has a funk to it. This is very dark, rich, deep, dense, and just like the two other fragrances, this is very complex and there's so many things going on. This is sweet, balsamic, woody, resinous. There are so many facets and nuances that in the end becomes this very round, opulent, and very strong oud heavy fragrance. There are a lot of high quality raw materials here, like beeswax absolute, cacao absolute, there's some oud from Laos, there's crocodile wood, whatever that is, I've never heard of that before. There's some oud from India, there's some vanilla absolute and birch tar. There are a lot of high quality raw materials here that give you so many different facets that is very difficult to pick up on it all and really describe it with full clarity. But in the end, you're getting this very dense, thick, sweet oud fragrance that is slightly powdery at the top, coming from magnolia at the top, which Bortnikoff also uses in fragrances like Oud Monarch, which I think is a 10 out of 10 men's improvement rated fragrance. And I definitely see some similarity in this fragrance, possibly coming from the magnolia at the top with the cacao absolute in here also. It gives you this slightly chocolatey sweetness combined with the very resinous and sweet oud here, giving you this concoction of sweet, resinous, balsamic, woody oud that is very opulent and strong. On my skin, this was lasting 14+ hours and also giving off 1 to 2 meters of projection for around 2 to 3 hours, which then dried off to being a moderate and lastly a mild skin scent, which kept on going. If you are an oud lover and you want a very strong, opulent, and very clear real oud combined with other complex raw materials that in the end give you a very multifaceted and very complex fragrance, Lao Oud from Bortnikoff is definitely one that I can highly recommend. Gentlemen, my final opinion and rating about this sample set and the 3 fragrances in here is going to be very short and sweet, because I think I've mentioned everything important about these 3 fragrances in here. In my opinion, all 3 fragrances in this sample set here are outright masterpieces. They are very complex, they're well structured, they're very potent and strong, they're rich, and they utilize strong and very high quality raw materials in very good and creative ways. If you like very rich, opulent, high quality fragrances that can be divisive but overall utilize very high-end raw materials and smell very rich, complex, and have signs of very skilled perfumery, these fragrances will definitely be something for you. In terms of men's improvement rating and which ones are the better ones in here, I will be blatant with you guys and tell you that all 3 of these fragrances, Oud Cologne, Lao Oud, and Tabac Doré, are all 3 10 out of 10 men's improvement rated fragrances. They last a long time, they project very well, and they are super unique and smell of high quality. If you love oud, you want to experience real oud, and you want fragrances that are of very high quality and are very complex, rich, and deep in nature, then this sample set is a must try. And I think after getting the sample set, you will want to buy at least one bottle of one of these 3 fragrances, and that is for sure. I think I will definitely want to pick up a full bottle of Oud Cologne and Tabac Doré in my personal taste. Gentlemen, that was my review of the Bortnikoff Oud Sample Set. What do you think? Have you ever tried Bortnikoff fragrances? Are you looking forward to trying them? Do you love or hate oud? Or have you heard about Bortnikoff in the first place? If you have or you haven't, leave your comments down below in the comment section. I would love to connect with you guys about all of these questions that I asked, and I would love to see your opinions and thoughts down there. Also, if you enjoyed this video, gentlemen, don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe to the Men's Improvement YouTube channel for more videos about fragrances, grooming, style, fashion, skincare, fitness, watches, everything that will make you, gentlemen, the best possible versions of yourselves. The last few things I want to ask you, gentlemen, is to smile more because it's free, and I want you to watch these 2 videos right here. This one here below is going to be my latest upload, whereas this one up here is going to be a video that the YouTube algorithm thinks you will enjoy.